Okay guys, so we're back for part 2 of our math lesson today. We are still in our geometry unit, of course, we just started it. This lesson is going to be all about angles. It's just going to be a short review from what we talked about during our live session yesterday. Angles are the corners of shapes. Just like here, we can make a square, or here we can have a right triangle, and I'll tell you why it's called a right triangle in a second. Or here we can have our circle. Now angles are essentially the corners of these shapes. For example, a square has 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. A triangle has 1, 2, 3 angles. And a circle actually has 0 angles because look, there are no corners on this circle. It's perfectly round. So this circle has 0 angles. So 4 angles on a square, 0 angles on a circle, and 3 angles on a triangle. So if we go back and erase all of this, we can talk about the different types of angles. Now you can have 3 different types of angles. I'm going to move these shapes over here for a second. You can have 3 different types of angles. The first type of angle we're going to talk about is a right angle. Right angles go perfectly square. Okay, now we're not going to talk about the degrees that the angles measure because you guys don't need to know about that in kindergarten. That's a lot of information for a kindergartner, but we are going to talk about the types of angles. This type of angle is called a right angle because it's perfectly square. If I were to show you lines in the corner right here, it would be perfectly square in the corner. So this is a right angle. I will show you what that looks like. Right angle. A right angle is perfectly square. So if you put your hands together, it would be a right angle if your one hand was pointing perfectly straight up to the ceiling and your other hand was pointing perfectly to the side. The next angle we're going to talk about is an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is a wide angle or a fat angle. Okay, I will spell it out for you. This is an obtuse angle. O-B-T-U-S-E. Okay, an obtuse angle is bigger than the right angle. So if I were to line these up, I'm gonna get these two together. If I were to line these up, you see that the obtuse angle is actually wider than that right angle. Obtuse angles are any angles that are wider than a right angle. The last angle I'm going to show you is an acute angle. An acute angle can look anything like this. They are small angles. This is how it's spelled. Acute angle. Sorry. And it looks just like this. Acute angles, if I were to line this up with my right angle at the top, you would see that the acute angle is less than the right angle. So acute angles are smaller than right angles or less than a right angle, and obtuse angles are bigger. So we have right, obtuse, and acute. Okay? Alright, so let's look at these shapes and see what types of angles they have. Now because, and I'm going to use my red line for this one, because we can see this angle on the square goes perfectly square at the corner, or at the angle, it is in fact a right angle. So squares have 4 right angles. Remember in our video about squares, in order to be a square must have 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. Now, our circle doesn't have any angles, so this one cannot be counted because this doesn't have any kind of angle. Now let's look at this right triangle. If I use again my red line, this angle in the corner here is perfectly square, which means it is a right angle. So this angle right here is a right angle, But what about these in the corner? This time I'm going to use a blue line to follow. Look how they are skinny angles or small angles. And so is this one. So those angles are acute angles. Okay? So this triangle has one right angle and two acute angles. This square has 4 right angles, and this circle has no angles at all because it doesn't have any corners. Thanks for watching this video about angles, and I'll see you soon.